Hey everybody, excited to have you on Back to School with Maz Jobrani. We got a great episode lined up today. We've got Dr. Firouz Naderi, who was the Director of Solar System Exploration at JPL, which is part of NASA. So this dude knows about outer space. We're going to get into it with him. Today, we're going to be talking about the moon landing. We're going to be talking about life on Mars. And we're going to be talking about aliens among us. Tune in. Let's go. Back to School with Maz Jobrani. Maz Jobrani. Hey. Jobrani Maz. Oh, Maz Jobrani.
Hey, Jobrani.
Mazzy. Oh, Maz. Hey. I got a podcast. Oh,
Back to school. Yeah.
welcome to another episode of Back to School with Maz Jobrani. Today, we've got Dr. Firouz Naderi. I'm so excited. This is Outer Space Talk. How you doing, Caitlin?
I'm so thrilled.
How you doing, Tehran?
I can't wait. This is some of my favorite stuff to talk about.
You know, I'll tell you, Tehran and I have known Dr. Naderi for a while. He's a fellow Iranian American. And in our community, when anybody does anything different, we all get excited. So this dude is our NASA guy, right?
is.
Although we have another NASA guy.
The cute one, the
There's
good-looking one.
Well, don't say that now.
that's-
Come
the young
on.
guy.
Well, that was how he was billed. He was the cute guy
cute
at NASA.
NASA guy?
It was a whole thing.
Dr. Naderi is a handsome man.
Very cute.
But this guy, what he's talking about, this dude came out of nowhere. I forget his name right now. It's not, but he had a mohawk.
Yeah, he had a mohawk, and everyone was like, "This is NASA Bay." That
He
was
was
the whole thing.
he was like the bad boy of
Yeah.
NASA.
I have to find. We're
Yeah.
Not
friends.
hard to be the bad boy
on
of
Instagram.
NASA, by
Dr.
the way.
Naderi is the original guy in our community, and I've always known him. He's a smart dude. And I personally, my mind gets blown a lot when I, like, for example, when I watch like Neil deGrasse Tyson speak. I don't know the answer to a lot of this stuff. And one of the inspirations that you guys know for our show, was my son Dara asking me questions. And one of the categories that I'm really, really not well versed on when it comes to specifics is outer space. And kids will always ask you about outer space.
True.
They will always ask you questions of things that you don't, just basic things. Why is the sky blue? I don't know. I mean, the ocean, and you know these things. Why is the sky blue? You probably
I don't
know
know
this.
these
It's
things.
the atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I
Got
don't.
it.
But now, see, I could say that. I could say, oh, it's a reflection of the ocean, the water. You get the water goes and it reflects in the atmosphere. But I don't know specifically what's going on. I can fake my way through it, but I usually have to Wikipedia this stuff. By the way, I took an astronomy class in college. Did you take an astronomy class
I
in
took a
college?
cosmology class in college.
That's crazy. So I took 4 astronomy classes in college.
What?
But not to study astronomy. We had all the tests, and so
Oh,
yeah.
you just had the.
we
you were
had the
just cheating.
test, and whoa,
Oh.
allegedly.
Allegedly
Come
cheating.
on.
And you took cosmology,
Cosmology.
which is different than cosmetology.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah, I thought it was cosmetology. No.
Cosmetology is like getting
That's
you all,
nails and hair.
Cosmology is the outer space
Study
stuff.
of the cosmos. Like Carl Sagan, Cosmos.
Yeah.
Right?
And what is one interesting thing you remember from that? Anything?
I really wasn't I thought it was going to be more interesting, and it was mainly a lot about telescopes.
She also had all the tests. Let's just
I had all the no, I wish.
Allegedly.
I had all the
Well,
tests.
see, what's sad to me is I took this class, and the guy, because one thing you realize is a lot of these space nerd dudes are very funny. They have a good sense of humor. As a matter of fact, Dara, my son, recently went to the Griffith Observatory, and he said the guy who was talking to them about the solar system, he goes, the guy was really funny and was just filled with jokes. And I go, see, Dara, that's the beauty. I love the fact that you or anybody can be nerdy and throw in the jokes and be funny. So I remember the teacher at Cal was super nerdy and super funny. But the sad part of my astronomy class is I don't remember any of it. So I'm realizing more and more that things went into my brain, and they just kind of like the solar system. I think my brain is very gaseous. It just
Things are passing right through.
Passing right through.
Jupiter brain.
Jupiter brain.
Yeah.
Jupiter brain. Jupiter is a gaseous planet, and Dr. Naderi is going to tell us about it. You guys ready to get going?
Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go back to school with Dr. Firouz Naderi.
Back to school.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Back to School with Maz Jobrani. Today, I am so excited to have a friend of ours here today, Dr. Firouz Naderi, who was Director of Solar System Exploration at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, in Pasadena.
Say that 3 times fast. And don't ever forget the doctor, Maz.
Doctor.
Don't ever forget the doctor.
This is the real deal. How are you, Firouz?
I'm doing fine.
Thanks
Good
for-
to be here with you guys.
Thanks for
Don't
coming.
expect me to be funny though. I mean, you have to carry that load. I'm just straight guy.
No, man, I'm sure you guys were. You must have some space shuttle or
Jokes? No.
jokes. Any space jokes?
No, not talented that
Knock,
way.
knock. Who's there? Nobody.
Nobody.
It's space.
Yeah, it's space.
Yeah.
So, Firouz, I'm happy you were able to make some time to come be with us. I've known you for several years. Always enjoyed seeing you at different events, and then thought, we need to learn from Dr. Naderi about space. Now, before we get into learning from you, just a quick background. So you were born in Iran.
Yeah. So born in Iran, went to high school in Iran.
Born in Shiraz.
in Shiraz. Yes.
For our non-Iranian friends, Shiraz, the wine. Yeah.
Big fan.
In fact, they used to make wine there 7,000 years ago.
That's where they invented
So,
wine.
yeah,
Just to
right.
let you people know.
Yeah, right,
You're
exactly.
welcome.
7,000 years ago, Napa. Take that.
That's what I'm learning is that everything was invented in Iran.
Yeah.
Yes,
Every
yeah.
podcast, that lesson
Yes,
is reinforced.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You don't have a problem with that, do you?
Yeah.
No.
Do you like shoes?
Yeah.
You're right.
Shoes.
Yeah.
We shoes.
Yeah.
Where do you
That's,
think that comes
that's
from?
the whole point of this podcast.
I know. Every episode, it's reinforced.
That's what
And
you
I'm
learn from back to
okay,
school.
got it.
Yeah, back to school.
Even space exploration.
We invented it.
Yeah.
invented
Well, I
it.
mean, you're
I mean, there
Iranian
was-
and they're,
There was space there, so
Yeah.
Director of what?
Perfect.
Maz?
Director of Solar System Exploration at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
There we go.
you're gonna test him on that throughout, aren't you?
That's the one.
So you're born in Iran.
Yeah.
You study there, and then you come to America. Like when did you first get interested in outer space?
A lot of my buddies, they say like when they were 14, 15 years old. For me, I wanted to be an architect.
Wow.
And so
This was plan B?
that was plan B. Exactly. Yeah, so we're talking about ancient days, the computers and all the CAD CAM and all the computer aided design and stuff, they weren't available. So you actually had to do drawing for architecture, pencil and all of that. And I'm horrible at drawing things, and I found that that's not for me.
An architect who can't draw. That's kind of interesting. You'd be like, the house is going to be like this, but I can't really draw it for you. You just got to figure it out.
Use your
Trust me.
imagination.
Trust me.
Well, funny thing, now you don't even need it.
You're right.
With computer, then you had to have some skills.
So there you are. You're like, I can't draw,
Yeah.
so I'm going to go to outer space.
Then I went and studied engineering and ended up at USC here at in Los Angeles.
When you were 18.
No,
Oh.
no. This is for masters and my PhD. I did at UCLA.
So you left
At
Iran,
USC.
and this is like in the 70s. There weren't that many Iranians here in Los Angeles.
Well, it's worse than that. I went into Midwest. I went to Iowa.
Holy moly.
Like there were 3 Iranians, and we might have seen each other like once every year.
The fact that there were 3 Iranians in
That in
Iowa at that
itself-
time is actually
Groundbreaking.
more. Yeah, that's actually way
Huge.
more than I expected.
Yes.
Yeah.
We started corn.
I heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Corn.
was invented.
Corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then if you wanted to do aerospace, but you didn't want to build missiles and bombs and planes and stuff like that, JPL seemed like a logical choice.
So it seems like almost like JPL was almost like the Peace Corps version,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to destroy anybody.
That was the wholesome aerospace industry. Yeah. So I ended up there
Fantastic. So now this is when did you start at JPL?
in 1979.
1979.
I need you to explain this,
Yeah.
Dr. Naderi. JPL, NASA,
Yeah.
they're the same but this is like
Yeah.
the holy trinity of science right now, right?
Right.
So JPL is NASA, and NASA is JPL, but they're the
Yeah.
same, but they're different.
Well, there's also Caltech, so
Okay.
to make it more confusing
Okay.
here. So, NASA has 10 branches throughout America. And they all do different things. Like, in Florida, they launch the rockets. That's all they do. In Houston, Texas,
We have a problem.
Yeah.
So I've been waiting to
Heard
say
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
it's where all the astronauts are, astronaut training and all of that is in. So where we do robotic exploration of space, that's JPL. Okay, we go to Saturn and Mars and all that, but all robotically. We don't do any human stuff. And so that's what JPL does now. Of the 10 centers, 9 of them, really they're government employees. They work for NASA. And at JPL, NASA owns JPL, but contracts with Caltech to manage JPL for NASA. So we're not government employees.
So JPL is an offshoot of Caltech basically. Like when you would get a check, it would say from Caltech.
Yes, yeah. We actually are paid by Caltech, and so JPL is a division of Caltech, and it manages it for. Now, when it suits us, we say we are Caltech, and when it doesn't, we say we're NASA.
So if this were Star Wars, you guys are the guys in charge of R2D2.
Yes,
Right,
exactly, yeah.
C-3PO,
You got it.
R2D2.
Yeah.
You guys would be like, as the X-wing fighters are taking off, which would be leaving from Florida.
Florida.
Florida
And
is
they were
where-
trained in
It's a good
Houston.
analogy.
And Luke Skywalker would be in Houston,
Yeah.
and you guys would be like, wait, Luke, before you go, and you put the R2D2 on the thing.
Now you get the hang of it. Yes.
There it is.
There it is, Star Wars fans. We just explained it to you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
NASA in a nutshell.
NASA in a nutshell, Star Wars. I have so many questions that just came off of that explanation, but I'm just curious. So, first of all, what is the furthest that any of your robots went, and how long does it take for that robot to get that far?
Yeah. So, in 1977, we launched actually a twin spacecraft called Voyager.
Yes.
And so it went in a tour of the solar system, went by all the giant planets and all of that, and eventually left the solar system. And there's no boundary. It's not like Mexico-U.S. border.
No wall. There's no wall there.
There's no wall
Yeah.
there. And but there is a region where the impact of sun, all the solar wind that's flowing out from the sun, it wanes. And so now we are in the interstellar space with Voyager. And so the thing which is interesting is that it is sort of screaming away from us at about 70,000 miles an hour. And at that speed, it's going to take it 70,000 years to get to the nearest star,
What?
to our sun.
So wait,
Wow.
so the ship, the spaceship that went out there and left the solar system, got into the interstellar part of
Medium,
medium, is now going at 70,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's away from us.
Is that because of the gravitational pull or whatever's out there?
No, I mean, if you remember your physics from high school.
I don't
No
remember.
gravity
it.
out there.
I don't remember it.
We took physics in high school?
That's
Yeah.
why we're doing the show.
I did not.
Go ahead.
So there is a Newton law that says if you impart a force on an object, and then there is nothing to resist it, it will go forever.
Right.
You don't need any fuel. You don't need anything.
the first law of
Yeah. So
Newtonian physics.
you just let it go, and then normally, like on Earth, friction stops you, or the atmosphere stops you, or what have you. But if there is nothing to stop you, that momentum will carry you forever.
An
On Earth-
object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Right.
How do I know
No,
this?
no, see, okay. See, he's showing off.
Yeah.
I think he remembers
Yeah.
his physics.
On Earth, it's your wife that stops you.
That's hilarious.
Your wife stops you. No. Wait a minute. So when this spaceship was, is it what is it in? Is it a shuttle? What is it? What is?
No. It's
Voyager?
It's just spacecraft.
So this spacecraft.
doesn't look like a plane or It just,
So on Earth, when you guys launched it, it was going at whatever 1,000 miles an hour or whatever. What would it be? What would
How
be the
fast
speed?
do you have to be to break the atmosphere?
well, I mean, you have to go. There is something called the escape velocity, right?
Exactly.
And so as you're going up, and if you have seen the rockets launch off the pad, they sort of lumber up, because gravity is pulling them down, and the propulsive fuel is trying to push them up. And in fact, it seems like within the first few seconds, if you take a look at the rocket, it looks like they're hovering. You wonder if they ever gonna leave. And so there is a escape velocity, and the funny thing is that if we want to go to Mars, that's relatively close, and the initial rocket fuel gets you there. If you want to go further, like you want to go to Jupiter, or if you're going to go to Saturn, the rocket isn't strong enough to send you that far. So the funny thing is that you go sort of halfway to Jupiter, and then you turn around and come back to Earth, and sort of skim the Earth and get a slingshot boost from the Earth that then pushes you further. And sometimes you do this thing twice. We're planning to go to we'll get to the moon of Jupiter called Europa. So in order to go there, because what we want to send there is so heavy, we do an Earth, Venus, before we go all
You
the way up.
slingshot. You use
Holy
Like-
moly!
Yeah.
Can
Wow.
It's like Waze. It's like Waze for outer space.
Right.
Can you describe this in Star Wars terms? Maz?
Star Wars terms, what you would do is your X-wing fighter has to go into if you want to destroy the what's the main bad guy ship? What's it called? Somebody's watching this.
The Death Star.
If you want to destroy the
right.
Death Star,
you.
don't just go in once. You got to go around it and get them to start pursuing you, and that'll speed you up. And the second and third time, you'll make it. Now, we don't want to destroy Jupiter. We just want to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, interesting. That's,
Yeah.
Thank you for putting it in terms I
you.
can understand.
Yes.
I have a question about the Voyager.
By the way,
Yeah.
if there was a rocket that was strong enough to send you straight away to Jupiter, it may take about a year and a half. This thing that I'm telling you about takes 7.5 years. So you're going around the solar system for 7.5 years, just picking up enough energy to be able to reach Jupiter. Eventually, if we build a badass rocket, then we can get there in a year.
So this is something I should put that in my kid's brain right now. If he can build this
yes.
rocket
Yeah.
that could cut the
but
time.
fuel is very heavy.
Yeah.
So fuel, well, that's why we're gonna have an electric.
Yeah.
We're gonna charge it. We're gonna have a charger at the house. You charge your Voyager, and then you just launch it. It's gonna be electric.
It's the Prius. It's the
I feel
Prius
Prius.
of
I feel
rocket
like Elon
ships.
Musk is already on this in some vague way.
My kid's gonna do it.
Yes.
SpaceX.
My daughter.
There is actually electric propulsion that we have used. It's just coming online, so to speak. And so, instead of using chemicals, you can use also electric propulsion.
You had a question.
Yes. So, okay, the Voyager, is
Yeah.
that the craft that we got all those gorgeous photos from?
Yeah.
Are we still, so it's escaped like our galaxy?
No.
No, it's in the galaxy.
So-
but are we still getting information from it? Is it just going to go forever sending us photos?
Yeah, so let's do real estate tour,
Okay.
right?
Great. I need that.
So you have the solar system, which is our sun and its planets. Right?
How many planets is that again? Because it
What's it,
changes
like
every
9 or
day.
something?
Today
It's 8.
Today
Okay.
It's
eight.
8.
Yeah.
Heard.
Pluto hasn't been reinstated yet, but
Yes.
it's coming back.
Yeah.
It's making a comeback.
So then, well, let me back off a little bit since you asked about the galaxy. The numbers in astronomy, they're so insane that there is no way you can wrap your mind around it. So I always give an analogy so that it becomes less abstract and people can sort of touch and feel it. So we live next to the ocean. So if like you take your kids and go to the ocean and like Santa Monica or Malibu or whatever, and you scoop a handful of sand, and actually are patient enough to start counting the sand.
He does that every weekend.
Yeah.
For hobby, yeah. So after you're done with that initial scoop, and then do another one, and then another one, until you have counted like every grain of sand in Malibu, every grain of sand. And then go up to San Francisco, down to Mexico, to Canada. Then when you finish, go to the East Coast, then go to Europe. If you count every single grain of sands on all the beaches on Earth, there are more stars in the universe than grains of sands.
What?
So one of these grains of sands happens to be our sun. So when you feel, particularly special, remember, you're just a little tiny
Thank you,
grain of
Dr.
sand.
Naderi. That's a great. Let's not play this for the kids. Let's not.
And by the way,
We are nothing.
By the way,
also.
not only that, but you're being stepped on all the time. As
Oh,
people
yeah,
walk
right.
on the
All the time.
beach,
Yeah.
they're stepping on your head and crushing you. And sometimes people even pee on you.
Yeah, right.
It's like Horton Hears a Who.
Just letting you know. All right, so
Some people, most people know, but just in case, everything that you see in the night sky, all the stars, they're another sun. It's just small because they're farther away. But if you get close to them, it's just exactly like a sun. Some of them bigger, some of them smaller. So our sun is a star. All stars are sun. We happen to call our star sun. That's the name we have given it. But otherwise, it's just a star. So our star happens to have a number of planets going around it. And, we didn't know until 20 years ago that other stars may also have planets going around them. We sort of guessed, but now we know, and we have detected some planets around other stars. Okay, so now that we know our sun and the planets and the solar system, then we are in a galaxy. So the next unit of real estate in the universe are galaxies. And so in our galaxy, which is called the Milky Way, right, there are 400 billion, with a B, other stars, other suns. And we're one of the 400 billion.
wow.
And then in the universe, there is something like about 100 to 200 billion galaxies.
Holy moly.
Right? So when you multiply all of that, that's how you get to more stars than grains of sands.
So you're saying that the Voyager has left the Milky Way galaxy and
No.
is in
No, our
no.
solar
It is
system.
the solar
Solar
system.
system.
Yeah.
Oh,
Galaxy.
solar system.
Sheesh.
The galaxy's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
our galaxy, one end to the other is like 100,000 light years. It takes light 100,000 years to go from one end to the other.
so our
Wow.
solar system is just the planets that
Yes, it is us. It is the Mercury and Venus,
Right.
and then us are the third rock from the sun,
yeah.
and then Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all rocky planets, which are inner planets.
Right.
Then you
And the
go
gassy
away,
planets.
you have the gas planets, you have Jupiter and Mars, which are Jupiter
Saturn.
and Saturn, which are humongous.
Right.
And then further out, you have gas giants, Uranus and Neptune. And so collectively, these planets and some asteroids that are going around and all
And
that,
Pluto.
some comets.
We're not gonna
And
disrespect Pluto.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And so that's the solar system.
So now Voyager's left our solar system.
Has left our solar system, and it is in the interstellar space.
So in a way, again to explain it, so solar
Oh, thank you.
system
Star
is
Wars.
solar system is like I'm going to go on another analogy now. Solar system is like your town, your county, like your
Yeah.
just your area, right?
Yeah.
Now once you go, then there's several counties, right? So that becomes all these counties together will now create the cities and the states
And the country could
and
be
the
a galaxy.
country is a galaxy.
And then all the countries, which is like the whole globe, can be the universe. If you want to go with that
Fantastic.
analogy.
All right.
So
all
the
right.
Voyagers left LA. It's kind of on like that sad road in the desert that's like a little
Yes.
it's kind of just roaming.
And speeding.
Got it,
Yeah.
speeding.
So there's no, cosmic police.
Got it.
So it's speeding at 70,000 miles an hour. But the size of the universe is just with that speed, 70,000 miles an hour, is going to take 70,000 years if it was aimed at a star, which is not. But if it was aimed at a star, the nearest star, it would take 70,000 years for it to get there. So that should give you a sense of how immense the
I have a
space is.
question. What kind of phone? What phone? I got Verizon, and I was in Malibu, and I couldn't call. So how is this guy sending pictures?
yeah, are we still in
Yeah.
contact with him and watching where he's going?
Yeah, okay, so now it dribbles, right? When you say I don't have enough, with the phone analogy, I don't
Yeah.
have a good reception. So we normally use solar panels to get energy, from the sun, but that's far from when you go really past Jupiter. It's very hard. The sun doesn't have enough energy to give you with the solar panel. Then we use nuclear power. Okay, no sanction jokes here.
No sanction
right?
jokes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are using a nuclear power for Voyager, and whereas when it was in the within the solar system, it was sending the images that you were talking about, gorgeous images. Now it's just like dribbles, it's data. It doesn't have enough energy to send photos anymore.
When you say nuclear power, are you saying nuclear power is fueling its progression? Because you just said it was in outer space.
No. The power to run its instruments.
Oh.
It's just like plug it into your wall.
Yeah.
So it is not. You're talking about propulsion that pushes you forward.
Yeah.
And as we said, it doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
The physics.
And then the other one is just you still need to turn on your radio,
Yeah.
what have you.
So the
And-
data that's coming in is coming in from nuclear power.
From the nuclear power, and it is now just dribbling in because it's so far away.
Holy moly.
So
How many because I cried when the Mars rover was retired or died or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It was emotional.
Cried?
Yes. It was really emotional. The images that everyone was sharing, I was like, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
But how many dead aircrafts or spacecrafts do we have just kind of floating out? What happens to them? Do they degrade?
So, that is becoming, let's first talk about near Earth.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it is getting really cluttered there, like what we're doing with the plastic and ocean and all of that. So there are a lot of junk in orbit, and they're going around Earth, in the orbit around Earth at very high speed. So if they happen that they bump into each other, that's the end.
Which
As
happens,
much-
right?
which-
And they fall to Earth sometimes.
Sometimes they fall to Earth and they burn up in the atmosphere. But the space is so big that even though we have littered around Earth with all these pieces of rockets and spacecraft that no longer work and all of that, the danger is going up, but still not. It's not like every day that you get a crash of these things. And then on Mars, we have gone to Mars 50. We have attempted to go to Mars 50 times. When I say we, I mean human beings. So we have done it in Russia a bunch of times, and we're just about even. Mars has won 27 times, and we have won 27 times. So about 27 times failed, right? And so recently, though, I think we're on a winning streak. Since 2000, everything that we had, I shouldn't jinx it. Every time that we have sent something to Mars, it successfully landed. So the two rovers that you talked about, that you got emotional about, so those were my, it was my program when I was at NASA. So what happened in 2000, NASA had two crashes at Mars. One of them was supposed to orbit Mars, and the other one was supposed to land Mars. Both of them crashed. And so at the time, thank God you weren't around, we were butt of jokes in all late night shows, and how many NASA engineer it takes to do this and to do that. And you would go to Thanksgiving and you would sit across your smart ass cousin who would rib you about what happened to
That's
these
so
things.
funny to me that they're making fun of NASA. It's like,
Yeah.
they're still rocket scientists.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand that they got to Mars?
Well, that just shows you how dumb people are, because like people are always, everybody thinks they know better, or they're critical. They're quick to criticize. I was watching this lady speak yesterday, and she was talking about the doers and then the critics, right? What's her name? Brianna the lady she did a TED Talk, and she's all about positivity. Anyway,
Michelle Obama.
yes, exactly.
That's the one.
No, but she
Thank
was talking
you.
about the doers and the critics. And nowadays, especially nowadays with social media, there's all this. So you were going to Thanksgiving dinner, and the dum-dum who's sitting over
Your
there.
unemployed
So,
cousin.
Maz,
Yeah.
there is no way I buy that if you guys were around, you would not use it as a material for improv.
Well, no, we would use it, of course. I'm not saying we,
I mean-
but that's our job. That's our doing.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
I told a girl, you fell for me like the NASA.
Like the rover.
The NASA
Yeah.
rover, yeah.
Wow.
And it's like,
See,
you fell for
he
me.
made it up on spot.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and I was doing something else at JPL. In fact, that other program I was working on, we were trying to find other Earth-like planets around other stars, trying to figure out whether there's life elsewhere and all that. And so they asked me to come and, with the help of a team, nothing we do at JPL is individual. Everything is team-based.
Yeah.
And
There's no LeBron at JPL.
There is.
Pass him the ball.
Dr. Firouz Naderi.
Pass him
Look
the
who
ball.
they brought in when they had failures.
Pass him the robot. Pass him the robot.
That's how it works.
So we replanned the Mars program, and we've been on that plan now for almost 20 years. But in 2004, we launched twin rovers. One of them was called Spirit, the other one was called Opportunity. Speaking of kids, we put the names up for contest, and school kids had to write an essay. So what should we call this? And then the other one, we had some corny names ourselves, rock and roll and this kind of things. But the kids came out, and the girl, which was in fact adopted Polish girl, 11-year-old, wrote an essay, said, to me, America gave me opportunity, and this is what you guys are doing is the spirit of America and all of that. So she wrote a very touching essay about why we should call these two rovers Spirit and Opportunity. That's
Wow.
That's how we named them. So you cried when they died.
And I'm crying again right now. Thank you very much.
I cried when we landed. Right. So for 3-4 years, you pent up. You have this pent up emotions that you cannot think about. You sort of lock it and put it away. And then the night that you're supposed to land, and because of the distance between Mars and Earth, it takes just at the speed of light, it takes 10 minutes for the signal to come back. So you're in that room, you know that you have touched down, either crashed into it or you landed, but you don't know what happened because you have to
Wow.
wait 10 minutes before the signal comes. And the signal came, and the radio was working, so we knew that we had landed. And that room erupted.
Wow. What was it, 2004?
And it was in 2004 we launched.
launched.
Yeah, it was 6 months later. I don't remember.
So it took it 6 months to go.
To Mars, yeah. It takes on the average of 6.5 to 7.5 months, depending on opportunity.
And the spirit, the opportunity and
Yeah,
the spirit.
And what speed was that going at when you launch it? What's the speed approximately?
So I don't remember, but the thing is that most people. So Earth is going around the sun, Mars is going around the sun, and every 26 months they get close. Like 30 million miles, if you
That's-
call that that close.
Yeah.
And most people think that, okay, we'll wait until the two planets get close and then we make a dash for it. And in fact, that's not how you go to Mars, right? So think about a quarterback. You know, normally when the quarterback, passes the ball, does it send it to where the receiver is currently? It sends it to someplace downfield, hoping that the receiver and the ball come together and he catches the ball. So the way we send spacecraft to Mars also is like that. We go the long way, even though at the time of launch they may be like 30 million miles apart. We send it on a journey which is like about 400 million miles.
Wow.
Like a long way. And then hope that somewhere in space, Mars and this spacecraft come together, and then the gravity Mars pulls it in.
You're saying you're the Tom Brady of space travel.
Yeah, except, right? Except. So what happens if Tom Brady misses the receiver?
They lose the Super Bowl.
No, they come back to the huddle and call another play.
Oh, yeah. You can
Now here, if you miss Mars,
one play.
it's $400 million.
Can you imagine? They're all watching. They're like, "Oh, he didn't catch it. He didn't catch it.
Yeah, right.
Mars didn't catch the Voyager."
It's $400 million, bro.
Oh my
Mars,
God.
pass the ball.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
Oh my God.
So surprisingly, the fact of getting it there at the same time as Mars, we have that now. Again, let me give you an analogy. I don't know whether you're a golfer or not, but let's say you're in Augusta, Georgia, and you hit a golf ball, and and you're aiming it at Rose Bowl here in Pasadena. Not only you need to drop it into Rose Bowl, you need to drop it in a particular section, a particular row, in a particular seat. And if the guy is having a beer, you need to drop the ball right into the cup.
Jeez.
So that is the precision that we need to do to make sure we catch Mars. And as difficult as that sounds, we have that down pat now. We know exactly how to do that. What kills you in Mars is the last 7 minutes. So the last 7 minutes, you are entering Martian atmosphere, and in that particular case, you're going 13,000 miles an hour, and 6 minutes later or 7 minutes later, you are on the ground. Either you make a $600 million crater, or you touch down safely. And it is that 7 minutes that we sweat. So as it entered, and and the guy sitting at the microphone, in the control room saying, here we are, the parachute just opened, and this just opened, and giving us a play-by-play, and then he says we should be on the ground. Right?
But you have to wait 10 minutes.
But you have to wait for 10 minutes before you find out, if that happened.
Because it's the speed of light that it takes for the
Signal.
the
What is that,
signal, and that's 186,000 miles. What is it?
Per second.
Per second.
Yeah, I know in
I was like,
kilometers.
per what? You know, in kilometers.
300,000 kilometers per second. Yeah.
Oh, very European. Very
wow.
European.
Okay, doctor.
There's kilos on this
doctor.
podcast.
Dottore.
Great.
So then again, when that happened, I mean, the room just exploded, and a buddy of mine came, and so CNN was covering it live. He said, Firouz, you're on CNN and you're sobbing. And I had absolutely no idea that I was crying, right? And anyway, you know how it is with Iranian men. You're not supposed to show emotions. Unfortunately, there are 3 or 4 things about me on internet that I'm crying. I'm a crier.
You're
Good for
a meme.
you.
You're a
Same.
meme.
Good for you. She does
It's
too.
okay. I'm a crier. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
You're safe here.
Yeah. Anyways, we landed, and one of them lasted 6 years. It finally got stuck in a sand dune. And what happens in a winter in Mars, and by the way, they have 4 seasons like we do, except they're all 6 months rather than 3 months.
Oh, wow.
A year of Mars is roughly 2 years of Earth. And so in winter, because these are solar panels, we don't do anything. We just go on a slope and bank so that the solar panels are facing the sun, and we just
Charge.
and stay there for 4 months, for 6 months. In this particular case, Spirit got stuck in a sand dune, and we couldn't get it out.
Don't tell her. Don't tell her. She's gonna cry. Don't tell her. Don't tell
No,
her.
I need to hear it.
This is like
I need to
Lassie
hear it.
for her. This is Lassie.
And winter didn't, then it didn't last the winter. The other one lasted almost 15 years. Opportunity. And it just, that one died a few months ago.
So when it dies, it just means the battery in it is just sitting there, or did it fall apart?
No. It
It
just
goes to the other world.
Yeah, what happens when you die, actually?
you go to robot heaven, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it means that you're not charging your battery anymore, and it frees. I mean, the electronics and all that doesn't. Most of the reason why we have a battery is to warm up the electronics because it gets very cold.
I see. So, but if somebody went to Mars right now, they would find the pieces sitting there.
Yeah, it's sitting. Yeah, exactly.
And
Somebody, the Martians are playing with them right now.
Didn't you see the movie Martian? Did you see it?
yeah, I saw bits and pieces with
yeah.
Matt Damon, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
In Martian, he actually the way he knows where one of the buried NASA rovers, which was nuclear, was, and he goes and uses that to sustain himself on Mars. So yeah, I mean, they sit there.
I have a couple of questions based on that story. One is, first of all, when you send it to Mars, what kind of materials is it made of to be able to withstand the atmosphere in Mars?
Kevlar.
Yeah. So, it's the electronics is the same. I mean, we don't have come up with special chips or whatever, right? Except that the lots that we select from to build it, they go through a lot of testing, and so it's all about quality assurance. I mean, there is not material that you use for a spacecraft that you don't use on Earth. Everything is the same thing that we use, except that the reason that thing cost $400 million to build is because of all the meticulous screening of parts to make sure that you're using the best, and then test the hell out of it.
But temperature wise, then on Mars, does it get, how much hotter does it get? How much colder does it get? It withstands that temperature?
Yes. So it is the swing that kills you. I mean, if you take any kind of a material and metal on Earth and keep heating it and cooling it rapidly, like on a daily basis, eventually the material breaks.
Right.
And so day and night in space, depending on whether you're looking at the sun and you're not looking at the sun, it can get up to like about 70 degrees Fahrenheit in summer around on Mars.
So that's not that hot, 70 degrees.
No, it's very good.
Yeah.
Seems nice.
Yeah. But it gets down to like minus 200 degrees.
Holy moly. Like Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. That's
So
just,
could we live on Mars when our planet is destroyed inevitably?
Let's say when does the solar system dies? The sun is about 4.5 billion years old. And the fuel that it has inside of it, that's burning and giving us the energy and all that, is good for another 4.5 billion years. So our sun is in midlife. And the end finally comes when it sort of runs out of fuel. The way the death comes to our sun is that it loses some gravitational pull and it starts ballooning. And it eventually gets so large that encompasses the Earth. Okay, and then it collapses. That since that's not happening 4.5 billion years from now,
We're okay.
You are okay.
keep putting money into your 401k for now.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
For now.
Well,
So, the thing about can people go to Mars? Yeah, I mean, the reason we haven't landed on Mars yet, and we're not going to land anytime soon.
When you say we mean people.
People.
Right.
Yeah. And we're not going to do anytime soon, regardless of what our buddy Elon Musk says. Right? It's not. I mean, at one time he says we're going to do it in 2018. Of course, it didn't happen. Now it says 22, and it's just not going to happen anytime soon. I think we're probably about a decade or two away. But the largest thing that we have landed robotically on Mars is like about 2 tons. And so it is so difficult with this thing coming in, at that speed, how to slow it down so that it gently touches down. And we're right now with our technology at the limits of how big we can make this thing and still make sure that it lands softly. And so 2 tons. And to land humans on Mars, we have to do multiples of like 40 tons at any given time. And we don't have the technology for it yet.
Wait, you need, so for a human being to be able to land, it needs to be bigger, you're saying?
The spacecraft needs to be big. First of all, in order to make sure that they have resources, because they have to live off the land.
Right.
You need to send ahead of time power station. You need to generate water. There is no water there. Yeah, and you need to generate oxygen, which is no oxygen there. So you need to set up factories
Wow.
that sucks in Martian atmosphere, which is carbon dioxide, and essentially generates oxygen so they can breathe. So multiple landings before humans can go to generate all the necessities for you to sustain yourself. And then eventually, yes, humans in a...
And it would take currently, if you were to send someone, it would take 6 months for them to get there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it gets 6 months to get there. And most people say if we go to Mars, on a first try, we won't land them. We'll just send them to Mars. That's what we did with the moon. We first orbited the moon and came back before we landed. So the idea is to go to Mars, orbit Mars, and come back. The problem is it takes you 6 months to go. But it's not like moon that you say, okay, I've seen it, okay, and it's time to go back home. Again, you have to wait for the alignment of the planets to get such that so you can come back. So a round trip to Mars without landing takes 3 years, and we do not know how to keep humans biologically alive. Forget about water and food and
And
all of that.
psychological.
And it's psychological, and it is radiation.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
So we don't know how to keep yet humans safe because even the astronauts that go to the space station and come back to Earth in like about 6 months, they get affected. Sometimes they get cancer.
Wow.
But to be in space exposed to radiation for 3 years, so the things that you need to overcome is not only the money. I mean, going to Mars, you're talking about a good fraction of $1 trillion,
Wow.
right? So, and it requires, in my opinion, not that U.S. goes to Mars, that people of Earth goes, like China and Russia and Europe, and everybody needs to contribute for us eventually.
Immigrants.
Go there.
Immigrants can go to Mars.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let me
good,
ask you a question on that, because the radiation is coming off of. Is it from the
Outer
sun?
the worst ones are from other stars. These are interstellar radiations that they are, traveling at a high speed, and they penetrate metal, and so when they hit you, it's not like you feel, ouch, I got hit with something, but it hits you and destroys cells in your body.
Wow.
And it's just like X-ray that you take.
Yeah.
So if you take unlimited number of X-ray, if they put you in an X-ray chamber and keep hitting you for like 6 months, you're gonna be one messed up
We
dude.
fly a lot, Maz. I mean,
We do fly a lot.
sheesh.
We do fly a lot. Let me ask you this. This is interesting because you talk about the Earth needs to go to Mars, not just the U.S. What other countries, like, does every country have a space program? Is there a country we'd be surprised? Like, is there like, Kazakhstan or I don't know?
So
Cyprus?
Yeah, more and more people now. The 2 biggest one, of course, are Russia and U.S. And now China is getting into the game. And one of the reasons that U.S. is going back to the moon, because China is going back to the moon, and they're worried that they will dominate, and there's some economic benefit there. And Europeans, because they're small, they have banded together. There is a European Space Agency, ESA, right? And so collectively, all of them, they contribute to this. And then India has gone. Israel just tried to land on Mars, not successfully. Iran, I understand that they tried to put things up there, and there's a rumor that they tried to put a monkey up there. I don't know. And that wasn't particularly successful during Ahmadinejad's time.
Why did they want to send a monkey up just to see if?
If the monkey could go, Ahmadinejad could go.
Yeah, he was a monkey.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah,
I'm just asking. I'm asking questions.
Don't say this thing to your son, but early, like, when we're talking about early 60s, when, Russia and
Caitlin's gonna cry. Caitlin's gonna cry. I know about
not
this.
again.
I know about Russia. I know this. I know the story.
Yeah, we know the story.
Forgot the name of the dog, but
There's the dog.
Oh boy. Oh, the
listen.
Russian space dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they do?
They send one way, of course. They send the dogs to orbit. They try to monitor their heartbeat and biological systems and all of that. So yeah, they
died.
yeah.
Poor dogs.
Don't do this to Caitlin.
And it's exactly like lobster. You know how they say, you put them in a boiling
They
water, but
scream?
they don't feel anything.
Yeah.
So when they put the dogs up there, they said, they passed, but they don't feel no pain. But
But they did.
I don't know.
Well, lobsters, when you put them in water, they scream. No.
Well, I haven't
No.
listened.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute. So
they're
these
like,
were so these were Russian. These were Russian dogs,
Yeah.
like Boris and Vladimir, and just like
it's
bye bye Boris. You're now going. Whatever happened to Boris? Boris, he went up. He never came back.
Nothing happened. Didn't feel nothing.
Oh, that's so sad.
So yeah, that was done early. Yeah, I don't think U.S. ever did it, but Russia did it.
Oh my
So-
God.
U.S. Never did it that we know of.
Yeah.
They never
Yeah,
did it.
they
They
wouldn't
said,
tell
They sent a
us.
black guy up.
they said a couple black
Yeah.
guys were like one-way trip, Jamal. Yeah. He didn't feel anything.
Oh no.
So
Oh
yeah.
no. The things we learn.
Yeah.
I feel like we could go for. I mean, there's so many. We just started
Yeah.
with Mars.
I
We've only been
know.
talking about Mars so far. Are there any other planets that we're trying to land
Well, we're
on?
going to Europa because it has like volcanoes and a chance for life. It's the most likely.
Almost there.
Europa
Almost
is
there.
Europa is another
It's a moon.
Is
It's
a
a
moon
moon
of Jupiter.
of Jupiter.
Jupiter, and the reason we're going there, it's the moon about the size of our moon. Jupiter, by the way, has like 60 some odd moons around it, but this one is the size of our moon. It has a icy crust, but underneath it, it has an ocean which has about 2.5 times as much water under that shell that all of the Earth's oceans.
And we need water for life.
And you need water for life. So we're thinking that eventually we'll land on Mars. First, we're going to orbit it and learn about it and all of that. And then we're going to land on Mars. And then finally try to, use a nuclear warhead to melt the ice and go through the ice and send a submarine into the oceans of Europa. And we think that if there is biology in our solar system, forget about other stars and other planets and all of that, that Europa has the best chance of having developed biology. And if on our grain of sand, right, 2 places, life arose on Earth and in Europa, in this little grain of sand, then the chances that life is not something exotic that just happened here, but that the universe is teeming with life, it's just the probability will skyrocket.
Wait. So Europa is a moon of Jupiter.
Yeah.
But you said land on Mars and drill
And
down.
I made
You
a
meant
mistake.
Jupiter.
Often when I want to say
No,
any
you
other
can't.
planet, I'm
Meant
fixated
Europa.
on Mars.
Yeah,
He meant Europa.
Mars is your favorite child.
Yeah. I'm fixated
Yeah.
on that. And then
You
mean
mean-
you never mistake your daughter for your son?
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, to land on Europa and then
Drill down.
melt down the ice and go into the
I don't
ocean.
think we can land on Jupiter. I think Jupiter's just a
A
gas.
gas. Yeah.
Which leads to, as we're wrapping up soon, right? What are we at time wise? We still got like five minutes or so. 10 minutes. So actually, I remembered in our conversation my kids' questions.
Oh,
There's some
great.
questions I have for you.
Let me just make sure, because I bumbled that up. I just want to make sure. So we land on Europa, which is a moon of Jupiter,
Yes.
and it is that we drill down.
Yes.
So that's where.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
for
there might be
clarifying that.
life under there
Yeah.
in the
So
water.
that actually leads to couple. So again, people that have been watching this now know that the show was inspired by my son who asked a question I didn't have the answer for. So I said, rather than Googling, I'll bring in experts. So two of the questions, actually, there's a two-part question.
Pressure. I'm feeling that
Well-
I'm gonna let his son down. Okay.
No. I think you got the answer. So there's a two-part question. The first question I have is based on what you were saying, Jupiter being a gaseous planet.
Yeah.
So he was asking me about the shape of, like, why does the Earth look round? Why do they all look round? Are they round? Is there an actual perimeter? Do you like go and pop in?
Yeah,
What is that?
That, by the way, one of the definitions, that's not what ruled out Pluto from being a planet. But one of the definition is that you need to be spherical in nature. And the reason is gravity. Central gravity will try to pull everything in, with the same force. Right, so it's almost like you had a string on every point on this surface, and somebody in the middle of it is pulling on all of this the string. It eventually becomes sort of I'm forgetting about mountains and all that, but on the scale that we're talking about, the gravity is what forces these to be spherical in nature.
So if you were to look at these planets from outer space, you actually see a sphere.
You see a disk, of course, because you're seeing only one side of it.
Right.
It's just like you see the moon or whatever else. It's just
Right.
like you see the moon.
Yeah.
You just see a disk.
Okay, and you're saying Pluto was not doing that?
No, Pluto is also smooth,
Uh-huh.
but it violated another criteria that they set, is that as they go in orbit around the sun, they need to have swept any other body out of the way, and Pluto fails that test.
Pluto does not sweep other bodies out of the way. Okay, so that was one question.
Poor Pluto.
Poor Pluto.
Yeah, I love
Really? Can you imagine being demoted from being a
Yeah.
planet? Like you thought you had
rude.
it, you thought,
You had it unlocked. That was your thing. You were Pluto. You were the farthest planet from the sun.
and that's what you associated with. When people would be like, "What are you?" You'd be like, I'm a half black, half Iranian man.
Yeah,
And
that's
someone
my
goes,
thing.
"You're no longer a man. You're not half black. You're not half Iranian."
yeah,
What do you have?
you would lose a lot. I would lose an identity. That's how Pluto.
Your identity is
Exactly.
gone.
Well,
Pluto.
Any publicity is good publicity. Maybe
Yeah.
I mean Pluto's more famous
No.
now than
Yeah.
it's
Cry
been.
for me, Caitlin. Cry.
Yeah. Well, here's the second question my
Yeah.
son keeps asking me. Now, you got to realize he's in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
And he is, school work is now getting more serious. They have homework, this, that, the other. And he said, why do I need math? Why do I need math? And I was trying to explain to him. I said, no matter what you do, and I always use architect,
Yeah.
and I use some of these things, but you telling me about this formula of launching this football. I mean, is this all mathematicians sitting around and doing this?
Everything, every technical discipline is basically applied math, right? Physics is applied math, and math, of course, is that. Engineering is all applied math. So the infrastructure for all of these technical things, it's math. All the physical laws that we know of are captured in mathematical formulas. So if you didn't have math, you wouldn't even know how to capture these laws and predict what's going to happen when we have built models and predict what's going to happen in the future, is by manipulating these mathematical equations. So the mathematicians, they live in another world. For example, they talk about a universe with 11 dimensions. Okay, I mean, so we can see only 3, and it's all hard for us to conceive anything else. But in a mathematical universe, you can conceive of a universe that would have multiple dimensions.
Damn you, string theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I say this guy has been,
string,
on breaks from his comedy routine. He's been hitting the books.
You want to know secretly 2 things.
Yeah.
First of all, Physics is my favorite subject
Holy moly, I didn't know that.
by far.
There you go.
Physics is my favorite subject because it is the language of God. Is physics.
Okay.
Okay, because all the rules.
Right.
That's where you lost me, but
Why you gotta bring? Why you gotta bring Jesus into this?
okay.
It's the language. It's the universe. It's
The universe.
whatever you want to call
The
it, right?
universe.
So the
Language of
concept
the
is
universe.
the language
Can
of
you
creation,
please
right? Yes.
Respect the
Yeah,
God.
The doctor. So it's the language. And second of all, I was that kid that read every space book as a kid. One of my first books was a book on space.
Dianetics. L. Ron Hubbard.
It was
Exactly.
no. Let's not get banned from Hollywood here.
Okay.
No.
The funny thing is, I don't know whether you're. I happen to know you because you're both dear friends. I don't know whether your audience knows that. Both of you guys at one time were thinking about getting your PhD. I think you, in
Political
fact,
science, yeah.
you went in political science, and you were going to be a lawyer. Is that
JD,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here with two funny, but also intelligent dudes.
And she
And
was
me.
gonna get.
So
what were you
I-
gonna get? What were you gonna? Were you gonna get?
So
PhD?
actually, yeah,
I don't
MD?
know.
No.
This is the first time we have met.
I
so
might
don't
go
know.
back to grad school. No, who knows?
What did you get your degree in?
Film and electronic arts
Oh,
with
nice.
an emphasis on
There you go.
animation.
Yeah. So
I
you're the-
actually use the
you're the-
architecture software.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
computer animation. I have two conspiracy theorist questions for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I hope they're not beneath you. They probably are.
Yeah.
But you can answer them in one word if
Yeah.
you would like. Did Stanley Kubrick help fake the moon landing? And have aliens visited us and we've been lied to by the government?
Yeah. So the short answer and the long answer is no.
Okay, cool.
Right. But I get that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and then
No, it wasn't Stanley Kubrick. Steven
someone
Spielberg.
else.
Duh.
Okay.
so
E.T..
you know, after I give a whole elaborate answers that that's why we didn't fake it, they turn around and say to each other, said, I mean, he can't say. I mean, NASA won't let him say.
Yeah, he's in on it.
No, he's in
Oh,
on
right.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, or he's not allowed to talk about
I
it.
yeah,
see.
yeah.
So, I mean, there are things that they pick on. For example, I mean, I just give you one. They have dozens, and after a while, you just give up. Is that, of course, there is no atmosphere, therefore there is no wind on the moon, and they see the image of U.S. flag sort
Waving,
of waving and all that. What they don't know is that, we had a flagpole, and then from that, a horizontal pole, and the flag was mounted on that, and we crinkled it because there is, so it looks like it is waving, but there are dozen more.
Well, my whole thing
Got it.
was when people ask that question, I'm always like, even if they faked it, it would take, that means that 10,000 to 20,000 people were in on this conspiracy.
Yeah, right.
And there's
Right.
no way they would all keep their mouths shut.
Right.
It's impossible.
That's true.
If it was just one person, we'd have a conversation. 5 people, I get it. 10,
Would have been leaked
yeah,
by
but
now.
once you hit
But
11,
to bring it to
Yeah.
today's politics, like the whole going to the moon and all that was fueled because of the rivalry between the USSR
Right.
and US. And so when US says we have landed, you think if Russia knew
Yeah.
that they hadn't landed, they wouldn't be, all
Right.
over
they would
US.
have proven,
Yeah.
they would have put that on Facebook first.
Right.
True.
But her second question with the Martian thing, if once you answer, have they visited us? Are there life form? I guess we found some
Have we found
living
life?
organisms on Mars. No,
No.
no.
No, we have
Nothing.
not. We like to. Okay, so right now, the only proof that there may be not only other biology, but maybe civilizations out there, it's the number that I gave you. Okay,
Just the odds.
There's an
that-
equation. What's the equation called? It's something.
Drake.
The Drake
Oh,
equation.
yeah.
Drake, like God's plan.
Yeah.
God's
God's plan,
plan.
yeah.
He's
He
got
came
an
up with it.
equation.
Yeah, but it's that the I don't know, presumptuousness of it all, that you go to the beach, you kick off your flip flops, and you bend and you pick up one grain of sand next to your big toe, and you say, "This grain of sand is so different."
It's
than,
the most important
It's the
thing.
most important.
Why would it, just
It
be
is
us?
that. So for now, it's all statistics.
And is our best chance of finding life form right now in Europa or Mars, or is there any other place we're looking where we're like there could be something there?
So there is, without getting too complicated, there is another moon of Saturn called Enceladus that also has ocean, just like Europa. But I think if you're looking for extant life,
Uh huh.
Europa. If you're looking for extinct life, probably Mars. But for now, as far as outside of our solar system, other planets, other civilizations, you just have to rely on statistics.
It's like American Idol, but Solar System Idol.
Yeah.
Who will be the winner?
All right.
Listen, Dr. Naderi, this was a joy to have you. I feel like I said, I feel like we've just hit on one planet, really. But I mean, we hit the other ones too.
Yeah.
But it was fun to have you, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was fun to be here with you.
How do people?
I was worried. I was sweating that maybe you asked me to tell a joke, and I was saying, "Oh my god."
Do you have any jokes,
No,
jokes?
I don't have
no
any jokes.
star jokes.
No.
Every time he talked to his girlfriend, he's like, "I need space."
There it
That would
is.
be a
Take
No,
that one.
if I go on the stage like you guys do at the improv, I would freeze in a minute.
Hilarious.
So, yeah.
Are you out there now? How do people, if somebody were watching this and said, "Oh, I'd like to, follow your posts or whatever it is," where do they find you?
Oh, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter.
Is it all at Firouz Naderi or what is it?
Yeah. So
Firouz.
yeah, I have a middle name, Michael.
Uh-huh.
So it is. I think my Instagram is Firouz Michael Naderi.
Okay, at Firouz Michael Naderi. Find him,
Yeah.
follow him, ask him questions. And you're retired from JPL now, right?
Yes.
Fantastic.
But somehow my hours have gone up. I can figure that out. So,
Never retire.
Here's another joke. I keep trying to get out. They keep pulling me back in. Gravity.
Negative 9.8. Negative 9.8.
Godfather
Right,
4.
Godfather.
Love it.
Yeah, that's a quote from Godfather 4. The gravity keeps pulling me back in. Guys,
Chino.
thank you for tuning in. Tehran, how do people find you again?
At I am Tehran all across the board.
And Caitlin, how do people find you?
On Instagram at Hollywood Psychic 1, on Twitter at Kate's Mean Tweets, Kate with an 8. I gotta change
So
it.
hard.
I know it's bad.
That's
Help
why
me.
you haven't gotten any proposals
I
from
know.
guys in Iran
I'm
asking you
waiting.
to marry them.
I'm
But she has
waiting.
some great pictures of her crying.
That's
Just so you know.
fantastic. I'm at Maz Jobrani across the board. Hit us up. Let us know what you think of the show. Make sure to subscribe and write a good review. If you like it on iTunes, write a review. If you don't like it, keep it to yourselves. Thank you for tuning in. Back to school with Dr. Firouz Naderi. Back to school with Maz Jobrani. Back to school with these kids. Bye-bye.
Back to school. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Back to School with Maz Jobrani. We hope you're enjoying it. We hope you're having fun. And we hope you're learning something. So make sure to let your friends know. Share it on iTunes. Share the clips from YouTube. Just get it out there. However you're listening, let your friends know to tune in to Back to School with Maz Jobrani.
Back to school.